Okay, this is literally take 3. Oh my god, I did like the longest video. It was like it recorded with no sound, none. So, anyways, let's try this one again. Anyhow, I do want to get to campaigns, but there's something I wanted to touch on first because it kind of piggybacks on what we were doing in terms of your vibe, and that is your core values, right? Because if you're incongruent with who you are as a person, in terms of who you believe you are, what your core values are, and then what your action is in life, things can feel very, disconnected. You can feel tired and stressed. Every few years, I try and go through the exercise of sitting down and writing out my core values. Who am I? What do I believe in? Where are, those guardrails and fence posts in terms of how I interact with the world? Right? Because what we're getting to here is that, while the world out there might be super tricky, right? The world in here can be super beautiful. But that's up to you, right? Do you want to live in a beautiful world, or do you want to live in constant angst and strife and all that? And part of that is getting congruent, right, with who we are at our core. What are our core values? What do we hold as personal truths? Because I think all too often we kind of default to either a group that just kind of happens to be around us that we've joined up with, and that's their core values become our core values. But are they? Are they? How do you define yourself within that? Are you a person who believes there's gray area in bigotry, or no? Because there shouldn't be. But if you're trying to carve out a little gray area of bigotry so that you can have it both ways, well, guess what, sweetie? That's you straddling the fence. And that's no way to live, right? Because I think that's a lot of the problem with people. They feel stuck or caught or like not free because their core values and beliefs of who they are as a good person doesn't align with the institution that they happen to be involved in. So we have to decide for ourselves, right? Who are we? How do we function in the world? And if those things are out of alignment with who you are, like, that needs to be addressed. I think it's part of the reason I get so frustrated with faith communities is because the majority of the people who are involved in that have never gone through the exercise of determining whether their core values are aligned with their faith's core values, right? Because you can't be a Catholic and say that you're not, homophobic. Because if you're a Catholic, you're homophobic, super homophobic, and you don't get to self-absolve yourself from saying, oh, I don't involve myself in bigotry against my fellow humans. What? What? Okay, if that's what you need to tell yourself to get through the day, but that's called mental gymnastics, and that's you trying to create something that doesn't exist. There's no gray area when it comes to bigotry. There's none. It either is of hate or it is of love. There's no in between, right? So let's examine that. I don't know. Maybe take a couple years, search out other faith organizations, institutions that are maybe more in alignment with who you are. Because, sweetie, if you've taken more time to look at car insurance companies than you have your faith or any other organization that is offering you up core beliefs of who you think you should be, right? Where's that getting you? Are you being served, right? Because this is the difference between religion and spirituality, right? Religion, I really have no time for. Don't know if you can tell. Because what it is it's a group of, axioms, beliefs, core values that someone says, here, this is what you should believe. And you're like, okay, great, gulp. And then you just go along with the other people who are involved in that institution. And, most people never really check in. They're like, okay, I'm doing this religion slash spirituality thing, which I think mostly doesn't exist, right? Because religion is, again, telling you who you are and how to believe and how to act in the world, right? It doesn't give you the same sense of agency to determine for yourself what is, true for you. Notice I said true for you, not right or wrong. Because religion will offer up what is right or wrong, but spirituality just asks what is true for you. So, I think it's important to go through that exercise. I was, lucky enough to be introduced into this concept in a business environment where we really were getting to our core values. Because that's as important in business as it is in faith or anything else. It all gets to who are you? Who are you? What are your core beliefs? Do you think it's okay to sign up for and fund institutionalized bigotry while saying you're a good person? Is that a core belief of yours? Or do you say no way? Right? And again, I have no judgment. I have suggestions, but personally, I just know that religion is very, very, very damaging to the human soul. I look at all of my religious relatives. They're the most unhappy people I've ever met. Right? And I'm like, maybe you all need to work on your sales pitch because I have no interest in being that unhappy. Right? I'm going to go and explore other things and other options, right? Because my mother, she was, somebody who she was a Christian who practiced what's called apologetics. Have you ever heard this nonsense? So apologetics is essentially people studying other faiths in order to prove that their faith is true. I don't think you understand the entire concept of research, the whole concept. Definitely go in with a biased opinion. This is why you're terrible and I'm right. That's kind of how that goes. So, but explore and, find out what the other options are. Because otherwise you end up in, places that are asking you for passive consent. Passive consent is what happens when you're in an institution that is asking you to do something that doesn't feel right to you and you stay silent. Passive consent is still consent. You do not get to say, oh, well, I just, it's not what I... No. No. You know when you're giving passive consent. Okay? That's got to be called out a lot more. You don't get to give passive consent to harm against your fellow humans. It's not how we should be functioning in this world. It's shocking to me that we still do. Anyhow. So, we are going to be getting to campaigns soon, but I just wanted to address this because it goes very much to what we were talking about yesterday, your vibe, right? Your vibe cannot be true to you. It cannot be you 100 if you're incongruent with your core values and what you're doing in the world, right? Are your core values in alignment with how you speak, right? What groups you sign up to be involved in, right? Because if all that isn't locked up and lined up and congruent with the spirit of you, you will feel tired and depressed, right? Because you're getting shoehorned and pushed into corners that you're uncomfortable with, right? And or just it doesn't feel quite right. So maybe take a look at that. Write down I am, right? And then fill in the blanks of your core values, everything from religion, politics, spirituality, right? And let's try and be as loving as we can to include as many people. But again, there are very specific times when we lift something up because it is of value and of love. But then there's other times when love said no. Not on my watch. Not on my watch is that acceptable. One of the best moments, like a real learning moment for me, and I think we've kind of forgotten how to do this, is telling people how to go to hell. Yay! One of my favorite activities. Hooray! Oh yeah, you can definitely go to hell. But where I learned that, because it is a spiritual principle for me, that's one of my core values, is telling people to go, jump off a bridge. And I think we've lost the ability to do that, but it was actually something I learned through, shocking, a Golden Girls episode. I know, things just got super gay. Right? But in this Golden Girls episode, Dorothy becomes really great friends with somebody who's an intellect, and she's like somebody that Dorothy really admires. She might have been an author or something. Anyways, she just really got along great with this woman. And then this woman ends up inviting her to a social gathering at an event that is, what's the word? Anyhow, they didn't let in Jewish people. I forget what that word is. Anyhow, it's escaping me right now. Brain fart. Anyhow, so she finds out that where they're supposed to go to have their, dinner engagement is openly bigoted against Jewish people. She immediately tells that woman to go to hell. We have lost that ability. So when you think like bigotry is getting worse in the world and things like this, is because, like the good people of the world have just gotten a lot more tolerant of it. Like I feel like it needs to be called out and go, no, you don't get to belong to anything that's racist or homophobic. No. Like, what are you people thinking? I just can't understand how you can join organizations that hate people. How do you do that? I just can't wrap my brain around it for the life of me. And like everybody does it, like it's not a big deal. So, watch that Golden Girls episode if you have a chance. It's so inspiring, honestly, because Dorothy is really clear that bigotry, that's her core value, that bigotry is not okay in any circumstance. And she tells that woman, who she cares about a lot, to go to hell. Like, she's really clear on that core value. That she cares about her other Jewish friends enough to tell this one friend who's trying to be bigoted against them to go jump off a bridge. So, what are your core values? What do you do when you're in one of those positions? Right? Are you going to choose a more religious life or a more spiritual life? Because there's very little crossover as far as I'm concerned. Not that I've ever seen, honestly. I have never seen a church that actually functions from love. They'll function from good and bad, right and wrong, which is all ego, right? You can't determine what is good and bad and right and wrong without the human ego, right? Because there's no there. The human ego is the only thing that can determine those things. And those things are determined on the life that you've lived. Right? There's no actual truth there. It's a personal truth. I believe this is right. I believe this is wrong. This is my perspective in the world. That's why we can't get along. Because we think that there's actually a measuring stick there. There's nothing other than the human ego. Right? So, anyhow, that's what we're doing today. I just wanted us to take a minute and really look at that. Right? Because if you're struggling with your vibe and getting happy and fulfilled with your life, that takes a little more deeper work, right? That deep work to understand that you're not giving passive consent to things that are not okay with you. That will zap your energy, make you feel tired, okay? So if you're struggling with any of that, just write down a couple of those things. I am a person who, when faced with bigotry, does X. Are you? So, anyways, that's where we are today. Hopefully this recorded with sound. talk to you next time. Bye.